I'm Brian Winnekins at the National Association of Farm Broadcasting Convention, and joining me right now is a pretty special guy here. He was our former colleague here at the NAFB convention. He is now with the Iowa National Guard, Captain Peter Shinn. And today, on this Veterans Day, we're going to talk a little bit about what Captain Shinn and the Iowa Agribusiness Development Team, the 734th Iowa Agribusiness Development Team, did in Afghanistan. And Captain Shinn, again, thank you for joining us on this Veterans Day.
Well, it's a great pleasure to be here, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Tell us where your group went.
We went to Kunar Province, Afghanistan, which is kind of in the northeast portion of that country, and our mission was to help the government there improve the delivery of agricultural services to its citizens.
Now, actually, the Iowa Guard was following, what, the California Guard?
That's right. We followed the California National Guard, who had done some good work there before we got there. And then we were followed by the Illinois National Guard. And the Illinois National Guard will be followed by the Wisconsin National Guard Agribusiness Development Team. And they'll be there sometime in spring of 2012.
You did a presentation here at the NAFB convention where your group went out and met with some of the tribal leaders or the city leaders or the city elders and asked, what did you need? They said they needed everything, it seemed like.
It's true. And I laugh at it because it's so overwhelming. You either laugh or cry, to be perfectly honest with you. But they did. They needed more than just agricultural assistance. And obviously, we have done a lot of work there over the last 10 years. We've built a very robust system of roads. We've established many government facilities without which they could not conduct any kind of operations to help the people at all. But the needs are very great. Their society has been torn down by 30-plus years of war, and it's going to take a long time to build it back up. They have needs related to electricity, clean water, sewage, garbage collection, all of the basic health care, all of the basic things that we take for granted in this country.
One of the other big presentations today that you showed us was the mechanization, or the lack thereof, of mechanization in their agriculture that I think that we just take for granted. But I thought it was a rototiller, but it's a tractor, I guess, correct?
That's right. It's a one-person tractor, the Chang Fuang, manufactured in China, with all the quality that entails. In any event, it's a small tractor. We were able to procure some. There's an agency that, when we left, was working to procure several thousand more of them for use and distribution in Afghanistan. And there is some small-scale mechanized agriculture there. But, for example, they'll have about a 300 horsepower Fiat tractor, Fiat New Holland tractor, that probably was imported from Pakistan. But what they'll use it for is for things like flattening the land so that the flood irrigation will work better. And maybe a little tillage, but really not generally. They certainly won't plant with it, and they certainly won't harvest with it. They will haul some stuff with it, but planting is generally done by hand. Wheat is sown by hand. Corn is sown by hand. So you can imagine there's not a lot of clean corn rows there in Kunar Province.
Now, when you were showing us these one-person tractors, I noticed that the soil conditions, to me, it just looked like it was just sand.
It's not just sand, but it is a highly dusty soil, and there is a high degree of sand in that soil as well, because a lot of the soil is near the Kunar River. That being said, some of their practices are not very conducive to good soil health. They graze their crops after they grow them so that they literally pull up the roots and feed them to their animals, leaving no organic matter behind in the soil. That's one of the things that we worked on in terms of education, is kind of telling them that it's important to have some organic material in that soil. But soil quality is a real concern, and of course they're limited in terms of the types of fertilizer that they can use. Ammonium nitrate is illegal because it's a very potent ingredient in making improvised explosive devices. So urea is the only fertilizer that they generally have available to them.
One of the big success stories that you were part of as well, that you did some filming on, was the veterinary work. Tell us about that.
Well, the veterinary work was, I think, really a high point of some of the things that we did there. And it was led by Dr. Loren Adams of New Liberty, Iowa, who is a large animal veterinarian. In fact, he sold his veterinary practice before he went to Kunar Province. And he worked with the provincial veterinarian, Dr. Mohammed Ghalib, to establish a vaccination program across the entire province. And it wasn't us rolling out and vaccinating these animals. What he did was he funded Dr. Ghalib to allow him to hire other veterinarians to go to remote locations, and we would provide the vaccine, we would provide the funding to pay the veterinarians. They would go into remote locations and vaccinate these animals in small villages. This program did two things. One is it helped build the capacity of the veterinary industry there, but more importantly, it helped build connections between potential customers and actual veterinarians, because there's not a culture there that says veterinary expertise is valuable. So it helped build that process, and over the course of 10 months, Dr. Galib and his team vaccinated approximately 40,000 head of livestock, mostly sheep and goats and a few cattle.
That is just truly amazing. Well, again, Captain Shinn, on this Veterans Day, we really want to say thank you to yourself and to all of the veterans as well, and all of the members of the military serving and for your service. Because, again, what you folks have done in the pictures that I've seen, they're just incredible.
Well, it's my honor to serve, and that's a true statement. The Air Force has certainly done more for me than I've ever done for it, and my extreme thanks goes out to all of the soldiers who kept us safe in Kunar Province while we were there.
And before we let you go, let's talk quickly about that, because you had to have, before you could go anywhere, you had to have, as you said, you would take 16 of your best well-armed friends.
That's a true statement. We didn't leave the FOB without a minimum convoy of 4 armored vehicles and 16 soldiers. And we had a robust internal organic security element. That was the largest membership of our team, was security forces. And they were so professional, so smart, so expert. You always felt safe in their hands, although, let's face it, I went out armed too.
Wow, it's just the pictures were amazing. Again, Captain Shinn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
That is Captain Peter Shinn. He is with the Iowa National Guard 734th Agribusiness Development Team from the NAFB Convention. I'm Brian Winnekins.